Well, I see a day when we are no longer under the auspices of an Indian Act, where the sole authority over the lives of First Nations people resides within a single person's office in Ottawa. And I see a day when we replace that with full sustaining self-government in our communities, where treaties are implemented based on the respect for the spirit and intent within which they were first agreed to, that we should be as brothers and sisters, as many of these agreements said. The 1910 Memorial on the interior of British Columbia comes to mind, that we make each other great and good. It was always that intention. It's been in many ways forgotten. It was captured in many writings of major thinkers like that of John Ralston Saul in his book Truths About Canada, A Fair Country. He talks about that this is an Aboriginal country, and in many ways we need to return to those roots and bring them forward, that we can then realize the potential of our communities if we recognize that this huge, burgeoning, growing youth population needs to be fully supported in achieving their ambitions, that we have a ready-made workforce, ready to go to school, to trade school, to go to university, to pursue internships. We have business and industry increasingly forming partnerships with First Nations. We have First Nations forming economic development corporations and achieving great economic success, creating jobs for their people, because they know that the transfer payments that have been received, that are being received by chiefs and councils, have not been sufficient, and more than likely will not be sufficient. So I think the National Chief, the National Assembly of First Nations, with all of the executive, need to support chiefs to ensure that we pursue fair transfer payments, just as any level of government would expect, and that we at the same time pursue economic development, so that we're not completely reliant on a single source of revenue. Rightful resources that, again, based on historic agreements, we should be sharing in the wealth and bounty of this land. As they say on the West Coast on the ocean, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I believe that prosperity and health for First Nations in this country is going to benefit Canada. And by doing that, it's going to help us mend the internal differences and conflicts that have occurred. We have those who are impacted by status. Some communities, it's said, that if we don't address the issue of status and identity and citizenship, we'll be without status Indians on their membership roll within 1 or 2 decades. This divides families. It's hurtful and it's difficult to be able to talk to a father or mother or grandfather to say that their descendants are not linked to them in some way in their identity. It needs to be up to First Nations to define who citizens are. I see the level of education, and to ensure that education and support for all of our people is there, right from early childhood all the way through full support in post-secondary. I see a coming back together of the gender strengths that we've had imposed externally, this paternal notion. We see it in the history books, and it's been played out throughout this country, that the strength of the women leaders, like the aunties who made sure I went to visit my grannies in my village to receive the instructions of hereditary chief. That's the ways of our people. And I know when I visit other communities, that's their way as well. And we need to ensure that the women are supported, that they're recognized for being the carriers of culture, carriers of knowledge, the givers of life of our people. And we need to overcome those differences that have been brought by the outside and repair them. And by doing this, we're going to return to a sense that we can rebuild our nations. We can rebuild it using all the modern tools. By applying both the best of the Western world, what it has to offer, but also bringing forward the very best of our ancient teachings and traditions, which I believe the world is thirsting for as well. So I'm excited that this is the time, that we include all in the effort of rebuilding our communities and our nations.